Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you all had a wonderful day so far. It's about to get a lot better. Welcome to the 6th 15 by 15 talk today. My name is Shiv Malik. I'm moderating this event. It's 15 by 15, so it's 15 minutes of a talk, and then you have 15 minutes to ask your questions and get involved. And please do that. We've got roving mics around the room, and I will prod you to make sure you ask those questions. There's also another way to get involved, which is also through commenting. You might be sitting on these little cards which describe the sort of social media avenues you can use. There's Twitter, and the hashtag for that is OECD4. And if you tweet with that hashtag, your comment shall appear behind. And there's also the Wissembly app, and you can use that as well. So our next speaker for the next 15 minutes is Ape Pohjaverta. And he's going to be speaking about the mobile as a mechanism to solve the refugee crisis. He is the founder and chief evangelist of Phousi, a Finnish corporation that produces a mobile learning and information service and works in emerging markets, and is also perhaps the most well-dressed man at this conference. He has a bow tie made of wood, which I've never seen before in my life. I think that's absolutely remarkable. He's a fascinating character, and I will let him do his talk now. Give him a big round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hi. It's a wonderful pleasure to be here to talk about probably the most important issue that we're dealing with as humanity. The refugee crisis, the migration of people leaving their homes behind, people forced to leave their homes behind, having to move to somewhere where they know no one, where they know of nothing that they would need to know. We all wonder. We all feel at a loss talking about the situation, thinking about the situation. We're really impotent. You look at the decision-making processes and powers, OECDs, EUs, UNs, and they've actually achieved nothing. I'm talking about mobile as a mechanism to solve the refugee crisis. And I will be talking about, and first of all, I need you all to have a look at the first slide. See the first slide. This is the crowd outside of St. Peter's Dome Basilica in Rome, waiting for the announcement of the name of the next pope, 2005 and 2013. In the picture 2005, we have 1, 2, 3 screens of mobile devices. In the 2013, we have nothing else. Mobile crisis screens. Now, this change that we're seeing here on these two pictures is something where I played actually a personal part, as I invented the mobile media app back in 2003. So if you have used apps, I'm to blame. Now, what this means is that mobile will solve the refugee crisis, regardless of what we do and what we don't do as societies, as entities, as organizations. So regardless of whether we do good things using mobile, like give people employment opportunities or empower the democratization processes to take place in communities that are broken, regardless of whether we do these things, mobile has taken over. Because each individual has access to mobile technology, and you do use mobile technology for good or for bad. Now, I'm here to talk to you today about using mobile as a mechanism for the good, because the forces of evil are already using it for the bad things. Now, looking at the situation and a bit of a background, we started, Phousi is a Finnish corporation that is a for-profit organization, it's a startup. We're world leaders in using mobile to cause learning outcomes to happen in wherever the people use mobile. Really complex, right? So what we do is actually we spread miraculously learning outcomes that spread hope into the minds of people who then can go and reshape their immediate environment. We've done that. We started in sub-Saharan Africa, and when the results became apparent and verified in August, September 2015, all of a sudden this refugee crisis hit European Union, and we started focusing on serving the needs of those populations that have had to leave their homes behind and come to places where they've never been. I'm from Finland. Many of the people who came to Finland never even knew where Finland was. They came because they had to. They had no choice. And they all came from, most of them at least, the majority, the absolute majority, came from this region, Middle East, Syria and Iraq. We have refugees and internally displaced persons in the millions. And the European Union, the European governments, UN organizations, all of these organizations have been trying to solve these issues somehow. I emphasize the word somehow because they haven't been solved. And yet we sit here, eat good food, enjoy the company of great people, and just go about our lives without actually worrying that much. Now, what is it that these people need, and how to solve this whole issue, all of these wicked problems? There is no one single solution, but one of the solutions is the one that everybody uses, and that thing that everybody uses was and is and will be the mobile device. It is the only thing that every one of those individuals uses. Now, we need to look at what mobile is and what mobile does. Mobile is immediate, mobile is personal, mobile is trusted. And we need to use mobile short term to provide correct information to the individuals who come to the communities. What should you do, what you're not allowed to do, where you should go, how do you apply for this and how do you apply for that. We put services into practice that actually help and ease the lives of people, both who come and the communities surrounding them. Wow, that's one thing. The second thing is sort of like the midterm thing. Midterm thing is, how do we integrate these people who are strangers, who come here? How do we integrate them into our society? And there the primary activity should be that of financial inclusion, economic inclusion. How could we employ them? Because through employment, when people have meaning in their lives, when meaningful work is there to be done, then the person's soul, mind, his personality, or her personality is more amicable towards the immediate surrounding. So we have to create mechanisms for midterm integration. Midterm integration means, how do you become employable? If you have had training in the area where you left, how do we actually match, how do we see that you claim to be a doctor, how do we know you're a doctor, and such. And then the third thing, and by far the most important thing, is the humanitarian. Now, the trade thing, the long-term thing. How do we create communities and societies in the area where they came from? Because we might want to have these people stay here, but many of these people actually do want to go back to their homes. We have to remember that the people who come here, by far the majority of these people want to go home, to their homes, and lead peaceful, happy lives. We need to give them the chance. Now, as I said, and I'm not here to criticize, I'm actually sort of like, I just want to mention to you that my friend Mike Butcher started this Techfugees thing. Have you heard of Techfugees? Well, okay, Techfugees was an initiative where the tech industry said, we will solve this problem. And thousands of projects were created, small projects that were locally relevant, solving one minor local problem here, one there. None of them had actually a systemic impact. The systemic impact of mobility and mobile and digital has always been provided by services such as WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitter, TCP/IP packets. So mobile already solves the problem. The things that TechFugees did were good, but they were all local. For example, a discussion we've had with a certain, I'm not going to name the country, but there's a German-speaking nation in European Union that has more than 40 million people, inhabitants. I'm not going to name the country. Simultaneously, we have a discussion with the ministry, and one ministry says, we have solved this problem, we don't need your help. And simultaneously, another ministry says, we need all the help you need because nothing works. And this is the situation with all of the public instances, because none of these public instances have understood this. They have not understood that digital and mobile have given the power to the people. It's a new democracy. And this has caused local and global organizations not to understand or to miss the point of saying, oh shit, I used the S word. I would rather use all the other words. Understand something just has to be done. Because the next refugees and internally displaced persons come in numbers that are far larger. If the sub-Saharan populations, if we do not solve those issues in those areas where the population doubles every decade, there will be tens, if not hundreds of millions of people who have to leave their homes. And where do they come? They come north. Now, what should we do about this? How should we do about this? Now, first thing, we need to show and understand that digital and mobile rules the world. The VCs of Silicon Valley have been saying mobile eats the world and software eats the world. Yes, it did so. It already did. Yet none of the decision-making powers in our democratic societies have a chief digital officer, a chief mobile officer. None of the bureaucratic hierarchies have a clue of what that means. So we have to wake up to the facts and start creating processes that actually enable us to become proactive. Because the reactive decision-making processes of our societies of today, they're just not good enough. Because our passion to measure things in the rearview mirror, analyze them, create patterns, seek scientific verification of the past, does not work in the future. That is built every day by each individual with a mobile. Solution, the mobile tool, the mobile mechanism will solve the refugee crisis for the good or for the bad. That's a fact. Now it's up to us to make it a mechanism that solves the crisis for the good. Not just now, but especially in the future. What that means is create KPIs and understanding of the social changes that occur in the societies, seek for the scientific driving mechanisms. Why does this happen? And then apply design thinking and create services that fit the needs of people in despair or in the integration phase or just before they make a decision to go back home. Because if we're not going to do it, then nobody's going to do it. If nobody's going to do it, someone's going to do it. And if it's not us, then we don't know who it is and what they will do. But it will happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Arpe. So we're going to come to questions. Can I start with mine first? which is, apologies, I'm taking the prerogative here as convener. How does this exactly manifest itself? When you say, look, everyone, I think, has a decent conception that mobile is obviously, the mobile phone in your hand is an incredibly powerful tool. We've all seen that in various different ways, and we'll have one here. But when it comes to solving this crisis, could you give us maybe one or two examples of how, even just as ideas of how it would exactly solve certain problems that refugees and internally displaced people
A concrete example.
face?
Last year, June, July, we noticed that nobody is actually doing anything. Everything was slow and sort of like stubborn, stupid. Slow, stubborn, and stupid. And so we actually started running Facebook campaigns in Iraq about entrepreneurship because nobody was doing it. We knew that the cost of an entrepreneur who goes through this publicly funded NGO government-driven thing, one entrepreneur costs about between 3,000 and 7,000 euros, one entrepreneur. So what we started doing was running these Facebook campaigns, and we've been running them, and we've now had more than 1.5 million people go through the campaign, start learning, and then tens of thousands of people have actually graduated from these courses. Half of them women. So we are, our own initiative that was born in our brains and in our ability just to do it because we can do it, because if we don't do it, somebody's going to do it, so why don't we do it, has actually made us the largest entrepreneurial trainer in Iraq. And it's a concrete example. I don't want to talk about the things that have failed. I want to talk about the things, and we're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Well, actually, but at least we're doing something. And that's the thing, the immediacy, the fact that things happen like this. If I want to reach 5 billion people, then when? It's not about designing this and doing that next week and next month and next year. Probably in 5 years we'll have something. Things happen now. Not yesterday, but now. And if you're not doing it now, they're already doing it. Do you think that people don't use mobile because there's no official OECD kind of a communique about how you should behave? Do you think that they actually, oh no, you're not going to do it because there is no good content? Of course not, silly you.
What would you like to see then? Because I'm sure there's some people. Do you have questions from the audience, by the way? If you put your hands up if you want. But I'm sure we have people here who work for governments and work in policy. What do they need to? What would be your message to them in a sense about the power of both mobile and using apps? Is it about using existing technology that's already there, such as Facebook, or is it about readjusting that and thinking, okay, look, how can we redesign certain things and bring about our own dedicated applications?
You should use things that work. You should use things that work. Somebody comes to you and cannot show how their thing, what is the impact of the thing that they're doing. It's not about technology. Technology can make wonders. It's really simple. Engineers build technology, and it works. But the impact, if the engineers don't know how to measure the impact. So first of all, follow basic sound scientific guidelines. Ask, why does it work? How does it work? Does it scale? If it does, implement immediately. That's one thing. Implement things that work. Other than that, give tools to people. Give tools to communities. Communities are really great at developing things. We have had here multiple, and we will have hackathons, stuff like that. Give the tools to kids. Give the Legos they're using outside for us to shape our things. It makes us creative. Use things that actually work and use them immediately. Scale immediately. Test small, but scale immediately. Once the test runs, scale. And have a budget up front. Have a budget up front. So that you don't end up in a situation where you go into a village and solve that problem with 50 or 100 people, and then when it works, you're like, I got to go and seek funding. And then you run to Brussels, or you run to your national government, or you run somewhere. And then somebody says, this is a really good project. We would love to do it. But the problem here is that this one guy who's actually doing this thing is a for-profit organization, and we cannot fund it. And all these things, they're not jokes. They're actually, the sad thing is that this is all for real.
Yeah. Do you want to just tell The mic, because then the people behind you can hear. It's not for you, it's for them.
So we have seen the case of a kid who was saved because he had a phone given by a volunteer. He crossed from Calais to UK, and it was thanks to the phone that he survived, and all the people in the container survived when they ran out of air inside the container. We have seen many cases in the agency of people who survived thanks to the one and only of the hundreds of refugees that were in the boat. He had the phone with battery at this moment of the night, and it was because of that that the refugees were rescued when they needed help in the night. This emergency situation, but we have also seen that volunteer organizations have funded, there is a Facebook group, a group page in Facebook called Phone Credit for Refugees. It has raised hundreds of thousands of euros to charge the credit for the phones given to the refugees. There's a lot of money, but always everything that I see comes from the people, from the civil society. Where is the government helping? What is missing? How can we do that our governments get more involved in helping in this kind of, in this very big problem that we agree is the phones are needed, the credit is needed. How can we reach more funds for them? Thank you.
That's an excellent question. In democracy, I am a voter and I'm a doer. So these are the two roles. I'm not a politician. That's why I can say that. For example, I've been looking at the way the European Union handles the crisis and handles the funds. The funding mechanisms for those projects, for the funds that were already allocated in 2015 to the Syria, if you actually go and look at the amount of money that has been spent, it is a ridiculously low amount, because the administrative processes take 18 to 24 to 36 months. And if there's a political situation between Turkey and the European Union, then you know what, this week we ain't gonna be doing nothing. That leads to the question that I pose to friends and to decision makers. I ask them, how can you sleep at night? Because the people in Turkey, in Lebanon, in Syria, in Iraq, in all of those places, they wake up every day. Yet you say, because of this and because of that, we haven't been able to do that. I'm saying humanity, European values are here at stake. And we Europeans have lost courage to act based on our values. We seek shelter in protective processes that make us re-electable. But we have forgotten what humanity and what human values are all about. And that is the reason. Because if there's a politician here who has spent money, please stand up and we'll applaud. That's a challenge. I'm a provocative person, and I do this not because I do this because someone has to do it. And I keep on asking these simple questions, like, why isn't it being done? And all the answers I get are really complex answers. Answers where nobody actually understands what is being answered. It sounds like during the Nuremberg trials, I'm making this. There were lots of people who said actually they didn't do it, they were just involved. Next question.
Okay, we've got time for one last question from the gentleman over here. Thank you.
I'm Jiaqi. I'm a master's student from Sciences Po Paris. My question is related to your first activity, provide real information to refugees. And I think it's critically important because some researchers say that once the refugee leaves his or her home country, they enter the information no man's land. It's critically important for them to know which countries are more welcoming them, which are the safer routes for them to reach the Europe, things like this. However, there are a lot of legal risks involved in providing information to these refugees. For example, the EU has an infamous facilitation direction, which stipulates that NGOs and other organizations if they facilitate undocumented refugees or migrants into the EU, they may face
Criminal charges.
charge a lot of economic and administrative consequences. So I hope you can elaborate on your first activity and how you overcome this legal risk on providing information to refugees.
Yeah,
You answered that because we're just short of time. I just want to ask anyone here if they work in refugee policy for a government and would like to challenge what Ape said and actually, present a different side of the picture. No? No. Interesting.
I want to challenge it, and I will challenge it.
You've done a lot of challenging. It's good. It's been good. It's been good. But go on. Answer that gentleman's question there then about legal risks.
Yeah. If we do not provide them with correct information, they will get their hands on information that is not correct. The information needs and the information desires of individuals using the digital tools is something where they get information. And like I said in the very beginning or somewhere along this, this manifest, they will get the information. It's our job to give them the correct information. If they get the incorrect information, for example, about the rape situation and stuff like that, we did a course like that in collaboration with our government in Finland about how the day the things happened in Germany, we actually initiated the development and implementation of a program using our service to distribute knowledge of how sexual things happen in Finland in Arabic. And that was a great success. We see the numbers and we saw that things happen and react proactively. Make things. See, the thing is, there's this guideline that we all should implement in our lives. It's not about making things better, but it's about making better things.
Thank you. That was a fascinating talk. I'm sure everyone will agree. Certainly provocative. You lived up to what you said over there, which is that you're there to provoke and ask questions. No, I love it. I love it. It's brilliant. Give him a big round of applause, please. Thank you. Thank you. We have 2 further talks today in here, so they'll be on your program. And the next one starts in about half an hour. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. Oh no, he's